Cyprien. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing people's names. Cyprien Douterlugne is how I would say that. Cyprien Douterlugne. I'm sorry. I'm going to turn on the audio. I don't know if it has audio for the first playthrough. And let's check it out.
It's funny.
I really like this one.
Yeah,
I refuse to talk first, and
honestly, oh yeah, no, I'll say some stuff.
Okay,
like,
great.
Straight up, it's I mean, it's just so fun. There's like little moments like this reaction here, the arm motion. I mean, as an animator, I always love that kind of stuff. It's just so snaky. Look at that. And then like feeds right into this this really hilarious, just like smashing this thing. And again, like the fingers dragging like crazy. Pushing it out. I think like it's so good that like it's actually like that good stuff that makes the some other parts. If I had a criticism, it'd be like this bit right here where she settles and does like has the balls coming out. I think that could have more. It's kind of most just in the arms and shoulders. I think we could get, since she's floating, we can get a lot more of that just in the body, and really kind of feel that as she like settles into it and pulls them up. There could maybe even be like a slightly more of a pause before she has the thought to dash in and start smashing this. Even though I love this moment, I think that'll happen so quick that maybe just a real quick like reaction pause before making the choice. And that same thing a little bit here with that settle that I mentioned before, just kind of applying the same thing to the end. But
is it the same settle as the previously?
Slightly different,
I was
right?
going to mention.
Or is it the same?
That.
Yeah, I could definitely vary that up. Yeah.
I was going to say, I think it happens a lot. Like this is similar, and then she does this one, and then right at the end, it's that again. I just feel like there could be some variation. It's like the same kind of move 3 times. Even though it's all very well animated, like it's awesome. Like all the arcs look great. There could have just been a slight variation at the end, because when I saw this for the first time, I saw this part and I thought, haven't I already seen that happen? And you do, because you kind of see it here. Yeah. It's the same move, right? It's just mirrored. So just a slight variation. It doesn't have to be completely different, but just, I don't know, like a twist or something.
Yeah, it is a slight variation in that like you can tell that her hands are different heights, but I think that's maybe too slight of a variation. And if after she does like this kind of peaceful landing, and then she clearly is like a little on edge, maybe like landing in. It's also kind of a sinister thing. Look how sweet little Pengu is at the beginning. Like he's only giving her love, and then she's like, "Get out of here!" Like that's kind of like an evil thing. So maybe a pose that leans more into the fact that she's not just like, "And I'm pleasant still." It's like there could be like thematically something that resonates more with this immediate reaction of abuse to this sweet little Pengu.
I love his eyes. Like his are his eyes just like meshes that they've added to this rig, or is it?
Looks like
it. The rig, because you got that one, and then you got that ship, and then you got that one.
Yeah,
and like the 5 different eye shapes. Yeah.
It definitely looks like with just spheres put in there.
It definitely adds a lot. Like if you don't have a rig like that, that's a perfect example of what to do. Just like parent some meshes as eyes. It adds so much.
So somebody in chat wrote, maybe it was reduced to fit the 8 seconds. I feel like Rory might have thoughts about reducing animations to like fit in 8 seconds. And I know the competition was 8 seconds, but I feel like if your idea can't fit in the 8 seconds, for a competition at least, then you need to like reworking what your idea is versus truncating your animation is a difficult but probably better move.
Yeah, I agree. I think 8 seconds was the limit, because any more than 8 seconds, we used to start thinking, well, this becomes like a CG short, you know, and then it's like, you don't want to watch that every time you're trying to pick a character, because you want it a little bit punchy and a little bit into it, but you also don't want it too long. So 8 seconds we found was like the sweet spot. So that was kind of where that came from. So yeah, like if you can keep it within 8 seconds, it's kind of cool. This one seems within 8 seconds, isn't it? I don't know.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but while I'm talking, I may as well just quickly say about this one that I think this is what the last one lacked, is when you show all of that ground here, you want something coming towards the camera to occupy that space, you know? And I think this one does that really, really well. And it's something we did a lot on Wild Rift, these end sort of freeze frame moments where you have that sort of effect going across the ground. One thing would have been awesome is if they could have expanded the mouth a bit more and just had him like really wide at the beak, maybe add translate to that. And then also maybe if there was like some eyes like crooked or something would have been cool. And then maybe a little bit of drool this year, so it looks like he's kind of really, completely mind warped. But overall, yeah, I love this one. And I just love all the snaky stuff that was done that Nick mentioned. The legs fling out a little bit there in that spacing. Maybe you could have just had this one a little bit closer to the last frame, but yeah, really, really cool. This sort of stuff isn't easy to do, but it's like done really, really well here. And just all of these little smears is really beautiful. Great job.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this section here where she does all this bouncing. There's so many fast actions in it, and like I think as an animator, there's always like a temptation to like add a little bit of blur in there just to like not let it be stroby or something. But instead, they really use these like smear frames smartly to keep your eye tracking the motion, even though it's super fast. So without this tip of this finger here, the fingers here, this motion would strobe right here because you'd get like the arm coming down on this frame. There's no ease out or ease into the next frame. It's like up on next frame and keeps going up. And so over one frame, they switch the direction of the fingers to like one, and maybe just like one of the fingers even to sort of get you this little bit of tracking so you can see where it was and where it's going to. And when you play it at full speed, it does the same thing that like adding blur does for you, but is all just like handcrafted. And I think that that's like one of the most impressive things about this shot is there's no blur in it. It's all crafted to allow you to read this fast motion. And when I saw this the first time, I was just surprised at how readable the whole thing was, even though this entire, bouncing happens in, gosh, like what a period of, from like the first hit to the end of it is like 20 frames, about maybe even less. It's like 15 to 20 frames.
Less than a second.
Yeah, and there's so much that happens in there, and the fact that you can read it all is just really impressive. It's like really, really thoughtful crafting. And I like to it's the same thing with these bounces. It's not like the traditional timing and spacing of a ball bounce. Like, look at this one. It goes from like here to being on the ground squashed. There's no like the stretch contacting the ground or anything, and because of that, it feels really fast and powerful while still being able to be tracked. I don't know. It's just really well done. Like, there's a lot of thought put into the spacing of these bounces that just makes it work really, really well.
Even like the 1 or 2 frame lead of the hand, definitely feels really guided as well by her. She's really feels like she's controlling the whole motion.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I wanted to mention is Pingu is very, very tiny the way he comes in here. So I definitely didn't notice him the first time until he popped out. And so coming in and then settling like this, like as far as like a really, really simple Wild Rifty thing, like this could have been it, right? Like the most basic thing that you could have done. But because it feels so final, Pingu jumping in really does feel surprising, but also like sort of disconnecting in a way that I wish there was more like a storytelling happening here rather than her necessarily just posing. Even if she was like preparing to pose, like story wise, it definitely feels like this comes to a rest right here. And if I cut it off, then somebody'd be like, that's a great animation. Period. And then it's like, oh wait, there's more to the story. So I wish there was just something else that was happening in this moment, so it didn't feel so final before we get this surprise. There's actually a whole bunch more of this animation kind of thing.
Almost like she was preparing to hit her final pose or casting or something, and then is interrupted, which then leads into finally ending at the end.
Yeah, like if she was
Yeah.
interrupted partway through that action, I feel like I would enjoy it more because it doesn't feel. Yeah.
That's what I meant when I said I felt like I'd already seen that part when it gets to the end, because it is basically at the ending at the
Kinda ends
start
twice, yeah.
and then it ends again. I'm like, oh, okay. I can see why they did it story wise, but it feels like I'd already seen it.
Yeah. Anyway, any final thoughts here for Cyprien D?
One tiny little nitpicky thing I had is on both times where she settles into that last pose, the arms hit the bottom at the exact same frame. And I would just want to offset those by, 10 frames or something like that. So they both feel like they're hitting at different times. One super minor, but
Definitely this one, because it's like both of her arms and her root sort of hit the lowest, their lowest arc at the same moment. Yeah.
I think the fingers are offset a little, right? Like
The-
one
the-
finger opens and then the other one.
Yeah.
But yeah, they actually do hit at the same point.
yeah, the effects show up at different times.
Yeah.
But like the actual physical hands hit that bottom pose at the same time. So, super small, but it happens twice, so I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Great. Well,
Why does she hit penguins? So I want to know.
yeah.
How can you hit penguins?
I can't tell if C6_C6 in chat, if this is your animation. You're talking, the rig was a bit limited for the penguins, so I'm assuming that this is your animation. If so, great job. No matter what, everybody, can we get rats in the chat for Cyprien D? Excellent work.
Yeah, super cool.
Amazing. Really
This is awesome.
beautiful. Stunning. Stunning.